Hi, I'm Andre Gray. I'm the superintendent here in Encinitas Union School District. Thank you so much for joining us for this virtual superintendent chat. I'd like to start by just giving you a little information about our key topics today. We'll be covering the framework for the future, our district's strategic plan, and the process we're going to use as we embark on that journey. And then our opportunities for community input, and then opportunities if you have other questions that you might want to pose to us. So just starting, basically the intent behind a framework for the future is really to think about a 3 to 5 year plan for our district. I feel very honored to have come into a district that had done a lot of forward thinking over the last 10 years. And it is definitely my commitment and the commitment of our district to continue that forward momentum, to always be thinking ahead and thinking about how can we continuously improve. A 3 to 5 year plan will act as our roadmap, just as we all need to know exactly what destination we're headed to. We want to have some clarity and some coherence around that. We're really trying to be future focused, thinking not just on what our students of today need, but what do our students need in the future? What will they need when they move on to middle and high school? What will they need to be successful adults? And so we want to be having the entire community come together to provide some input on what that looks like. I mentioned we want to provide clarity. We want to have a very clear vision of where we're headed and that there be some coherence across the district. What are some of those things that every classroom should have, every teacher should be equipped with? What are those important road marks that we'd want to make sure that we are hitting along the way? We also know it's really important to bring our entire community together during this process. This is a great time of rebuilding for many districts, and our district included. We've had a tremendously successful year that is coming to an end, but we want to be thinking about next year and the years to come, and how can we bring the community to think about what it looks like for our district in the future. We know all of you care about your children and care about our community schools, and we want to hear from you so that we can have that input as we make our strategic plan, our framework for the future. And finally, our work is really focused on the learner. What do our students need? And we know that that's changed in the last 5 years. It's changed in the last 10 years. And so we want to make sure we think about the children that are currently in our schools and how we can focus on their individual uniqueness and their gifts that they bring, and really have a plan to help them meet their complete potential in now and in the future. So we have partnered with Learner Centered Collaborative. They're a national nonprofit. They work with school districts across the country. They're one of the leaders in innovative districts and really facilitating districts through a process for developing their strategic plan and then also implementing the plan and really having clear success indicators along the way for that accountability, because it's really important that you just don't create a plan and put it on a shelf, but rather there are very systematic ways that the district is considering how they are progressing and how we're meeting those district priorities that have been determined by our entire community. So we start with establishing that North Star. I will say in Encinitas, we've had a very shining North Star for a long time, but it's really important that we really ground ourselves in information currently and futuristic information to say, what is it that we envision? What is our vision and mission? Polishing those off and refining or reestablishing the vision and mission that we have, making sure we are accountable to the values of our community, having an opportunity to reset and consider where our community is in terms of what they value and making sure that as a district we mirror those values. Then we want to make sure we move into those success indicators. one of the elements of that is a learner profile. What is it that all students in Encinitas should be able to know and do when they leave our school district and move on to middle and high school and life beyond? And we want to make sure we're clear about those indicators and very clear goals and metrics about how we're going to get there. What does it look like in sixth grade? What does it look like in fifth grade, fourth and below? We know every one of our grades can have a lasting impact on our students and their trajectory to be successful in the future. Then we want to look at our learning models. What are those classroom experiences that all students should be afforded to make sure that they not only have joy in school and are connected to school, but also have those strong foundational skills and an opportunity to develop their skills in critical thinking and problem solving and communication, all of those things that we know are important. So making sure that we have clear learning models for what that looks like and how that happens. And then setting up some goals and making sure that we're checking in on our goals and shifting any of the practices that maybe are outdated practices that aren't really relevant when we think about what students need in the future. And then we look at an opportunity to scale that up. What are some of the ways that we want to accelerate our impact to continue to make sure all students thrive in our district? When we look at the timeline for this work, it starts with where we are now, creating our learner profile. We've done some student forums. We had over 40 students join us, and we had a great opportunity to have in-person conversations and hear from them. We also did surveys with all of our third through sixth grade students to hear from them. And now we're doing our community forums, both in person with families and staff. And then obviously this virtual one, we know everyone's schedule is a little bit different. So wanted to be able to have an opportunity for people to weigh in and hear, what we're about and where we're headed, and also to be able to provide really important feedback so that you're a part of the process in creating what this new vision, mission, and our framework for the future will look like. That's happening this spring. It'll be a real iterative process as we go through. And then in the fall, we're going to be able to implement some of those key ideas and start looking at what the success criteria looks like, those benchmarks. And that's where we start to really have the finite pieces to making this happen. We do know that there are some adjustments that will need to be made in our programs, also in our practices, and even some of our policies, maybe changes in resources if we are looking to be able to match the criteria that we set. And so that will happen in fall and winter. And the last is ongoing implementation of the plan, checking all along the way to see how we're doing based on what we've set in motion and what our community has determined to be the key priorities that we need to be working towards. I love this quote by Margaret Wheatley: invite everyone who cares to work on what's possible. And one of the things we know about the community of Encinitas is that our families, our staff, and our students all care deeply. Everyone cares about having a successful school district, and we have been a source of pride for many years, and we want to continue to do that. So in order to really facilitate that work, bringing everyone who cares is really providing some opportunities to hear from you about these very specific targeted questions that will help us kind of align and refresh that vision and mission and values as we create this next step of our framework. Just a little bit of the process. First, I mentioned that we've done some student forums, and now we're doing community forums, including this virtual one, to get some input and feedback. And then we also have a guiding coalition. It's 3 representatives from every school site that are kind of the work group. As you can imagine, getting all of the people together and wordsmithing and seeing how we're matching all of the different values across the district. We wanted to have equal representation at those meetings. So those 3 representatives from every school meet a cross section of the district, from parents to PTA to EEF to teachers to support staff to principals and community members. And then our intent is every time we have a draft of an item, as we kind of get close to feeling where we are with the vision, mission, and values and learner profile, send that out to virtually to all of our families to continue to get input. receive that input, make revisions in hopes of having a final draft of the product that everyone feels not only proud of, but excited and inspired to help us move forward with. So with that, there are a number of questions that we're asking for input on. In order to give your input virtually, with this email, you received a link to a Google form, and we're just asking you to input the answers to these questions on the Google form. That makes it a very easy way for us to take that information and share it with our team. As we were doing these in person, we did the same format. It was in person for people to answer the questions, and in the audience, we just had people, share their thoughts. And so, if there's particular questions you feel strongly about, answer those. You're welcome to answer all of them. We certainly want to hear from you as we put this together. But the first question is: in the year 2035, how would you hope that others would complete this sentence? Encinitas Union School District is. And so that's what we'll ask in the first question. The second question we're asking are, what are the greatest strengths that we have in our schools and community? We certainly know leveraging the great strengths and the things that make us proud are an important part of planning for the future. So we'd love to know what you believe are the greatest strengths we have in our schools and community. In your opinion, what are the most important skills and knowledge that our students will need to succeed in the future? And we think of this as not just succeeding when they go to middle school, but middle school and beyond to meet their potential. So what are the skills that you believe are the most important for students to succeed? What do you believe the purpose of our school district is? And finally, who else should we be asking these questions? And as we've been hearing the answers to these questions, and particularly this particular question, we are then sending forms or information to some of those entities that we hear. For example, we have heard we should hear from former students. So that is something that we're taking on right now, as well as other community members and businesses. And so we are in the feeder district, teachers and staff from there. So those are things that we're looking and doing right now based on the feedback. But if there's other things that you suggest that we get feedback from, we'd love to hear that. So that's the end of my formal questions. I hope you'll take a moment to fill out the Google form. And I want you to continue to look in our regular newsletters to be able to see the updates, and always take the opportunity to provide any feedback, whether you feel like we're on the mark, missing the mark. What are those things that we should know as we go about this process? We are absolutely committed to continuing to make Encinitas School District the very best it can be, and you're a part of helping us make that happen. Thanks so much.